Well, good morning everybody. How are the peeps this morning? It is -6 and I don't have gloves on. That would be 22 over the line, and that is pretty darn chilly as far as I'm concerned. Now I know it's nothing compared to what some of you are experiencing, but you understand it's all relative. So for us, you're sort of -6, -10 is about as low as it's going to go. So -6 is pretty darn cool for us. And I can't wait for my car to warm up. Well, I wonder how you're all doing this morning. Obviously I hit the light at the wrong time. Patience is a virtue. There we go. Lotus. Wow, you don't see a Lotus very often. That's a pretty car. Oh yeah, where was I? You know I like my cars. No, I can't remember seeing a Lotus since the Lotus Elan. And that was in my youth. But it's like a good idea if I don't get too close to it. Very pretty. Low to the ground. It's like a miniature Guinea. Oh, that's pretty. Sort of thing that makes me... Wow. I wonder if you can see it in the back there. Probably not. Anyway, a very nice car. That sure got my adrenaline going early in the morning. Alright, now the first thing I wanted to do was to thank Teresa, who wrote to me. Thank you, Teresa. I couldn't respond to you. For some reason, every time I hit the button that should take me to where you made the comment, it didn't take me... Well, it took me there, but your comment wasn't showing, and I had no idea what that's about. Plus, normally the person who's commenting, their name comes up in blue and yours came up in black. It wasn't a link, so I couldn't get directly to any site for you either. So, Teresa, just to thank you, because Teresa told me why they have the baby on board sticker. I never knew. Can you believe that? How stupid can I be? Talk about a doofus. So what Teresa was telling me is the reason that you have that is in case of an accident. So that the firemen or whatever know not just to look for adults, but also to look for a baby. I can't believe I got to be this old and didn't know that. I feel very stupid. Now, but it makes sense to me because for the longest time I had that on my front door. I always had a picture of my dog. Now, I've always had pretty evil looking dogs, you know, marshmallow dogs that looked like they could kill you. But I always wanted, for the same reason, you know, I wanted firemen to know there's not just an adult that lives here, but there's a dog as well. I also thought it was a really good idea to leave a picture of my dog on my front window because it was called Feel Free to Break In. He hasn't had breakfast, you know. Oh, I should have put a warning before that. So, interesting stuff. So thank you, Teresa. I really appreciated it. And I'm really getting comments from all sorts of people I've never seen before. And I really thank you guys because it makes my day. I go, gosh, I don't think I've seen that name before. If I have, very rarely. And so it's always a pleasure to see the names. Wasn't it exciting yesterday? Well, it was for me. We reached 150,000 views. Wow. And for all of you who are regulars, you know you are very much part of that for me. And all of you who are pretty regular viewers and maybe I don't see your names, thank you. Thank you so much, because I realize that for everybody who comes to visit, some move on and some stay. And then that also is a movable feast every week. You know, some people move on, some people stay. And so for those of you who have stayed around, thank you. And for those of you who have subscribed, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And it makes all the difference when people do subscribe, and I really, really genuinely appreciate that. So 150,000 views. Wow. I mean, I'm not joking. It was like a milestone one for me, as you know. So it's really fascinating to me. You understand, this is the person who wanted just to maybe help one person, and to have had that many people view, and presumably they viewed something, and hopefully something that they viewed has helped them in some way. That's the power of the internet, and I am so blessed in that. Very, very excited. So we move onwards now towards 175, and then hopefully to 200,000 in the next year. So I don't know, it's just very exciting. It's sort of like, wow. And you look at it and you start to realize that really this is a very interesting process. And it becomes as much a way of life for you guys, I guess, as it does for me. I actually got in the car not so long ago and I didn't put on the camera. Gosh, what a boring drive that was. You know, I was just like, why did I not bring the camera? Or why did I not put it on? Because I'm so used to chatting to you guys now. Well, it's about my hockey team. It's not doing well. Not doing it all well. And so I'm just grateful that starting next week we have the Olympic hockey to look forward to. And normally, touch wood, we do pretty well in the Olympic hockey. So I'm just hoping that we will do well this year. This Olympics, but we will see. It's very scary stuff. Well, no, it's not very exciting stuff, but it's, I don't know if any of you are a little bit concerned about the Olympics. You know, you always hear about security at the Olympics and that it's always a bit scary, but for some reason it seems to be more scary now. And I just think it's really sad when people actually attack at events like this. And the reason is because the innocents are people who have for 4 years worked their hearts out, and maybe a lifetime worked their hearts out for this moment. And I don't know, that makes me angry that anybody should get in the way of that. I think it's so sick. And yes, I understand it gets them worldwide attention, but my golly gee, you know, what a sad thing for those people who have done nothing but try and be athletes to this level for a lifetime. And so there's that part of me that gets really quite bent out of shape on that one. But again, there's not much I can do about it. So I have to breathe and just let it go and get on with my day, because it's okay to feel angry about it, but it's not going to control my day. if you remember, that's something I have to say to myself quite often. I may not like it, but it's not going to control my day. So I can't believe, actually, but there's not a cloud in the sky, peeps, really. It's magnificent. It's really cold, no doubt about that, but a magnificent day. I can quite understand why some people prefer to live in cold climates where you're likely to get this sort of thing where it's cold but pretty, as opposed to most of us who live in damp and rusty. Because as long as you got the right clothes, you know, this sort of weather is just cold. And it's not like we get minus 40 below or something, you know. And so we really don't have anything to complain about. But this has been a very, very interesting winter so far, and I'm not quite sure if it's going to continue like this. We hope so. That would be great. So there haven't been any questions coming in to the DearMamaSal site of late, otherwise I would talk about some of those. What we did hear about yesterday was Ashlee, and I thought she'd been a bit quiet recently. And I found out, and I put it up on the Facebook site, but I found out that she had taken a fall transferring herself, presumably from her wheelchair to somewhere else. And, you know, that must be so difficult. So for all of you who are in wheelchairs, you know, I can imagine how vulnerable you must feel. Getting in or out of bed, in or out of a car, in or out of anything. And I just want you to know, Ashlee, that my heart sank when I heard that, because I can just remember that a friend of mine who's in a wheelchair, I remember that one night we were actually pushing her across a field, which sounds like a funny thing to do with a wheelchair, but we were at one of the camps that I do, and we'd been around the campfire and we were pushing her back towards her dorm, and she actually, the wheelchair hit a rut that we didn't see, and the wheelchair toppled. And you can imagine how everybody felt that was around that wheelchair. I mean, we felt so guilty that we hadn't seen this rut and that it had caused such a terrible thing. And I'm certain some of you can feel that in your stomach just imagining that. But what was even more scary was that her helper dog was obviously with us. And the next thing we saw was a coyote very close to us with eyes on the helper dog, because he heard the panic and saw a vulnerable moment. Well, I want to tell you something. You have never heard so much noise and so much adrenaline pumping through a group of people as, you know, as a group of them just scared off this coyote and made sure it knew never to come back again. But it was, I just always remember how vulnerable she was in that moment. And so I thank you for letting us know, because I think in telling us things like that, Ashlee, that what you do is you help us all understand the difficulties. You know, we all think we struggle to get in and out of bed in the mornings. But boy, you know, I know just with my back being out that how difficult it has been. And I cannot imagine what it must be like if you have to do that transfer every single day. And some days you're not feeling as strong as others. And also the upper body strength that it must take. So anyway, just want to let you know that we all wish you a very speedy recovery, both physically and mentally, because that must be scary. If on a mental level, it must make you a little more cautious as well, having had that fall. And just that we wish you a speedy recovery. You didn't say how badly you were hurt, so I'm hoping that it wasn't too painful or too difficult for you. Now then, I think my Laurie, called Laura, made it through to 31 days of not smoking today. I believe, maybe 32 even. I'll have to check, which is wonderful. So, very pleased about that. And I am I must be close to 400 days now. I'll put that up when it gets to 400 days, but that's what my next benchmark is. Is that possible? No, wait a minute. 365. Yeah, possible. We're getting very close. So, who knew? A lot of people keep asking me, does it feel a lot different, the non-smoking thing? And I will keep talking about it because it's important for people to know that even though I've stopped smoking, the triggers for it are still there. And it's not sort of that, it's not that terrible craving. But it's so funny because anytime anything happens where I used to smoke, a stressful thing or a boring thing, if I'm waiting for a video to upload and I just haven't got quite enough time to do something useful, I think, a cigarette would be nice now. And that's what I realized, that's what I did. So I'd love to tell you that I can smell a whole lot better. That's not true, not as far as I know. Maybe a bit. I can't say that I'm breathing a whole lot better, or I still cough a little bit. Not too bad. Just an occasional one. But I guess that will take a while for the crud to come out of my lungs, right? So I really can't say that it has made a huge impact on that I'm aware of. You and I both know it's made a huge impact on my health. Whether I like it or not, it has. And as the specialist so rightly said to me, 20 years from now you will have pink lungs. That's great, because it'll take that long for all the crud to come out of my lungs. But I really don't feel that different. Except I feel very proud of myself for having done it. I will say that. I'm very proud of that. So, the next thing is, I'm still working on reducing this weight down. And it's a little challenging for me because at the moment I'm struggling with the back as well. Now the back is a whole lot better, for those of you who've been asking. It is a whole lot better. My spine seems to have settled down and gone out of the spasm that it was in. Yesterday I probably did a little bit too much at work, so I'm going to take it a bit easier today. It's difficult though, because a lot of my work requires that I bend and stretch and do things and pick up stuff, and so I just got to really work out what is a good amount and what's too much. And then I did go home and sit on a hot pad for a while, or lean against it as well, you know, where the infected areas are. And now that I think about it, I didn't take as many anti-inflammatories as I maybe should have done. So I'm going to take one of those when I get to work, and make sure I keep putting those into my system for as long as I can still feel the pain. But it really is a lot easier to walk. That's the main thing. It's easier to walk. I feel freer. I put my socks on fairly easily, my hose rather, and my boots I put on fairly easily this morning. You know, that's been really difficult. I've had to literally pull on my pants to pull up my leg. Do you know what I mean? I had to use the cloth on my pants to pull up my leg for so many days now. But this morning I'm able to lift my leg myself quite easily. I can feel it. Don't get me wrong. I'm aware that I've got muscles attached to the hip part of that. And what I heard from the chiropractor is I've got one muscle that is still having a problem, and it's actually higher up in my spine. It's probably moved up to L6 or L7, somewhere in there, I would think. But for some reason that one decided to, when everything else sort of settled down, that one decided to really have a cow. And I'll just need to keep stretching that middle part of my back until that loosens up, and hopefully we'll get that sorted out next time. So, life's good. As I've said many times, I am not sick, I'm merely sore, and that's a very different feeling. And I'm looking forward to today. It's such a pretty day. Now, there has been rumor, and I haven't had it confirmed yet, but I did hear a rumor that it's possible that the white fluffy stuff might come in by the weekend. Now, you know I don't do the white fluffy stuff well, so we will see how that goes. I'll have to listen to some news broadcasts to find out about that. Alright peeps, so have a wonderful day, and I thought I'd ask the question, who haven't you contacted recently that you really meant to and didn't? You know, friendship is very much a two-way trade, so think about somebody that you might call, and if you don't want to call, maybe send an email to somebody that you haven't been in touch with for a while, just to let them know you were thinking of them. And I'm a great believer that sometimes that's all it takes, is just to say, I was thinking of you and wanted to send you a hug. And that sort of makes people's day. Okay, so this is DearMamaSal on her way to work, and they left my right space. Well, not my right space, but they left me a space in the place I would expect it to be. Alright everybody, have a great day. Everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and it is Wednesday evening, and it's daylight. It's enough daylight that I can vlog. Yay! Summer can't be far behind. Just making sure I don't hit my boss's Acura. Okay, so I found that's not a good idea. So I'm on my way to PetSmart. Our BeanBean has got himself a nasty looking owie on his tail. And I've spoken to the vet about it, and I'm going to be taking him in first thing tomorrow morning on my way to work. The thing is that I've got a challenge because BeanBean isn't strong in his legs to get into the Jeep, and also I can't lift him anymore because of my back. So I'm on my way to PetSmart to see if I can get a ramp that will work for him. And I can't have one that goes up into the back of my Jeep because my back door is not stable. It comes down quite unexpectedly sometimes, and so I don't want to risk that. So I need some sort of stepping device that will go into the side of my car, and that's what I'm going to need to do to get him in and out. So that's what I'm going to go and see. I realize that's going to be a fairly expensive item, but at least it is what he needs, and he's going to need it hopefully for some time. And I realize that I'm getting too old now to lift him anyway, and especially with my back being vulnerable as it is at the moment. So it's an expense I hadn't budgeted for, but it needs to happen, so that's what you have the savings account for, right? And for those of you who remember, every month I put 10% into the savings account just for moments like these. So this sort of an expense that is unexpected and unavoidable comes out of that account. So it's not from my day-to-day living account, it's from my hello, this is my account for treats, emergencies, and special events, if you like. So I'm hoping that this will work. We'll only really know by tomorrow, I guess. And I'm hoping they've got a selection. I've sort of been aware that they do, so I'm hoping that the particular store I'm going to has a selection. It's bitterly cold. It's still -4 Canadian, and that would be 24 American. Oh, not pleasant. I can feel it in my fingertips, and if there's a wind, I don't mean me personally, there's an Arctic wind that's come down, and you can really feel it when you walk. It's like, wow. And so my little fingers are cold, and I thought I had my gloves with me. Oh, I do. That's good. I might even go mad and put those on, because that is what they're for, right? Alright, so, I see somebody already wearing their Canada jersey. I got mine. I've got my Canada hockey jersey already, and my scarf. I can start wearing that next week. That's awesome. I got them last year. I got them at the last Olympics. I was so excited about the last Olympics being in Vancouver. So not quite sure, as I said, exactly what this is that's happened to Bean. I'm going to try and get these gloves on because my hands are really cold on my steering wheel. The vet said she thought it might be a wart, but I don't think it is. I think it's something else. What they'll do is they'll have a look at it tomorrow morning and then phone me and tell me, and we can discuss it. And then they'll do what they have to do. Yikes. Another thing for the savings account, I'm afraid. Now I do have, and I wonder if you guys have, I do have special pet insurance on my animals. I always have had. But they get you coming and going, because when they're young, it's not very expensive to buy, and that's very nice, thank you, and it's well worth doing. But then as they get into their older years, they start putting the rate up on you. So I still think it's worth it for him. It's forced savings, if you like. But it certainly does not cover enough. And accidentally last year, I forgot to put through a claim on some of the stuff I did with Bean, and by the time I did, it was too late. You know, they won't do it after a year, because they allow for you to do exactly what I did, which is to forget to put through the claim. So I'm not going to do that again this year. I'm going to make sure that every 6 months I put through a claim. Then I won't be caught with that, right? So the light's going, and so am I, and I'm pretty close to where I need to be. And I'll get back to you probably tomorrow morning when I'm loading with this thing, or maybe even the store even. I might take the camera in with me to the store, and then we'll see what I can find. How's that for an idea? So this is Dear Mama Sal saying bye for now.